Hey folks, Mr. Hughes here down in Hughes Studios, and I'm here to bring you a quick lesson on blending modes. Now everything we've done so far has been layers where pixels will stack on top of pixels so they'll cover them up. We talked about how you can erase those pixels so that you can actually see through them. So if you got an image with a background, such as maybe the image I have here of Mark Ruffalo, the actor from the Avengers movies, I may want to remove the background so they just have his picture. So you can work with pixels that way as well. What we're going to do today, though, is we're going to actually blend the pixels from the top to the bottom. So we're not going to erase them. We're going to have them blend with the layer below. How are we going to do that? Let's find out now. So find yourself an image online. You might want to pause the video and find yourself a portrait of a person that you can work with. This could be a photo on your camera roll, off your camera. Jump on your Google Drive, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Grab an image and get it into Photopea. And if you're still watching, you've got yourself a picture. If you don't have a picture, pause and make sure you do that now. So what I'm going to do, don't repeat this part, don't do this part. We know that Mark Ruffalo is famous for acting as the Hulk in Avengers, amongst other roles, but let's go with that one because that's what we're going to work with today. So I'm going to choose a green color that I want his face to become. Now the reason why I'm saying don't do this, I'm hoping you can predict. I'm going to get a larger brush here. I'm going to actually reduce the hardness of the brush because I'm going to want to get to the edge of his hairline and I don't want it to be very harsh. So I'll try 38 and maybe we'll have to adjust from there. Now, we talked about if I start painting, I'm going to replace the pixels of his face with that green color, and that is certainly not what I want to do. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to call this face for now, and you'll see why as we go forward. And I'll start painting around the edge of his face, around his hairline, and you'll notice that this brush is probably a little bit too big. If this was a real, I want to hand this in and not just a lesson, I would be taking my time, but for, the sake of getting right to the point, I'm just going to color in his face. So if I cover this up, and we do this very quickly, and again, we're not doing a very good job, but that's all right. You would look at this and say, wow, Mr. Hughes, that's fantastic. You've really done a great job. That looks so much different than what we did at the beginning. I say thank you. But for now, what we're going to do is look at this and say, I want these pixels to blend with the pixels below. Now, it has to be on the layer above. You can't blend pixels with the layer above it. You can't paint lower and say blend higher. You always have to blend higher to lower. And I'm going to look at this section right here on the layers palette where it says normal. Normal means don't make a change. But I can click this and I'm going to see a whole bunch of different options on how I can get them to blend with the layer below. So in this case, let's choose multiply. You ready for the magic to happen? Look at that. All of a sudden now the pixels from the green blend with the face pixels, his original photo, underneath. So what's happening here? I'm going to tell you right off the bat that you have a whole bunch of different options here that you can choose. There is a lot of mathematical explanation as to what exactly goes on here, but I'm going to keep it very simple for you. Everything from darken to darker color will compare the pixels above with the pixels below and give you some sort of darker version of it. So if I change this back to normal, there's my neon green or the green and there's his face. And if I compare, watch what happens. Darken, multiply, color burn. That one's interesting. Linear burn. You get the idea. It's always going to make it darker. In this case here, you get a very funky example. If I choose lighten, it will actually brighten. So everything from lighten to lighten color will make it brighter. So we'll brighten up the image with that color. And then everything from overlay down to, and overlay gives us a pretty good example. Everything overlay down to hard mix gives us some sort of kind of in between. It's not necessarily going to be dark. It's not necessarily going to be lighter. It's going to be kind of some blend in between. So that would be what my suggestion would be to you. Now, how do I normally go about this if I'm choosing a blending mode? I'll be honest, I find multiply and overlay are usually the best option. So I go between those two. Otherwise, what I would do is I would choose darken as my first option. And then with the blending mode, option still selected here, notice it's still highlighted, I would use my up and down arrow keys to start cycling through them to see which one I like best. And in this case, I might go with overlay. I find overlay looks good. We're starting to make him look like the Hulk. Now I may want to get in here. You'll notice as I keep painting, right, that overlay feature will still be in effect. So now we've got ourselves a green face. Maybe I want to do something to his hair as well. So maybe we want to make his hair red. In that case, what I would do is make a new layer. Let's call this hair. Right? And this time I'll stay with my brush. I'll grab red and again play around with maybe the sizing of it. You might want to play around with the hardness of it, all of that sort of stuff. So let's go with a darker red. Let's say that one right there. I like that. So same thing. Let's grab a brush that works. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Okay. And then there you go, we've got the hair. Terrible job over here. And I'll do the same thing. I'll choose darken. And that's not a bad example right there. So we've got ourselves kind of the one that we want, but for giggle's sake, let's choose darken again and start cycling through them. And I think darken is going to be the winner. Although overlay seems to not do a bad job as well, but to get something different, I'm going to go with darken. Okay. And then I would want to come in here. This would be a time when I'd say it's okay to use your eraser tool. Normally I say use layer mask, but in this case, you know what? You can use the eraser tool and just kind of clean that up because it's not part of the original image and it would be pretty easy to fix. So again, I should be using a soft edge brush because that looks terrible. Now there's areas like the, oh, sorry, let me backtrack here. With the hair layer, notice what happens here. If I paint on top of the green, okay, this layer is going to blend with the face layer, which is then going to blend with the background layer. So it's not just going to affect the pixels on the face layer, it's going to affect it all the way down. So you've got to be aware of that when you use that blending mode. All right, so you'll notice that's why on the face layer, I made sure I didn't color the hair because I knew I was going to be making it red. What I might want to do to make this a little bit more realistic, you know, the fact that his lips are green or his eyes are green as well, maybe I want to change them. Like you should be able to see the whites of his eyes in here. So I'll go to the face layer and just for speed's sake, I would normally use a layer mask here for speed's sake because I want to show you what it is. I would take my eraser tool and you could erase the green on that layer. So you can see there's his original eye color and now his original eyes are coming through here. And now I could go in there with maybe another color and start coloring his eyes a different color. And you can keep going and going and going. Same thing with his lips. If you wanted to get his natural lips back out. And again, I'm using the eraser tool. I should be using a soft edge brush. And let me show you what the difference with that is. If I grab the soft edge brush and bring the hardness down to 0, okay, and I start erasing, you'll notice that you just get a nicer blend with the outside. It's not that harsh line. It looks like he's making a kissy face at me. I'm not gonna lie, that's a bit of an awkward picture. But now you can see how you can work with blending modes in order to affect layers underneath. So with that, grab yourself some images, grab your brush, some colors, make some various layers, play around with the blending mode.